This video is going to be talking about the requirements and the brief for your final project in the 202 class, which is basically the second project. You finished your first project, you finished the three assignments. Now it's time for the final project. Now the due date is going to be before before New Year's. So I want you to submit when you can before 2020 is over. Now this is going to be an easy project. I'm going to supply you the vector, basically the vector art on Blackboard. So you can just go on freepik.com and you can pick out any vector that you want. If you feel like it, you can animate your own vectors, it's fine. I'm going to supply you the .ai file, so you can just drag and drop it inside of After Effects. I'm going to show you this now. So I'm going to send you this, the photo.ai. You can just you can just click and drag and place it inside of your project. This will prompt you what type of import you want, what import kind. We're going to stick with composition and layer size instead of document size and press OK. This is going to bring in a photo too. In this case, in your case, it's going to be photo, just like this one, but it's going to be this one. If I double click on it, you can see that it opens up these layers. So these are the Adobe Illustrator layers. Now what you're going to do is going to just decompose all of these into one layer. So star 1 up until star 4, right click decompose. You call that stars and you press OK. You pre-compose them. Good. You pre-compose the camera as well. So camera, button, lens, and reflection. Right click, pre-compose. You call that camera. You group them up to two separate entities and you press OK. So now you have more control over your layers. So it's not as chaotic as it is here. So you can just kind of organize them into different logical entities. So I'm going to close photo 2. We don't need that. I'm going to delete it. I'm going to keep the photo 1. So as you pre-compose, you're going to get something like this. So you have the camera, you have the stars, you have 2 stars here. We'll talk about them later. And you have the hand 2, you have the hand 2, and you have the hand 1. And you can add a background if you feel like it. So just right click, new, solid. You add a background, change the color to whatever color that fits. And you place it right here. Okay, so you can change as many times as you want. And you can choose any color that you want as well. So this is the animation. Okay, so the camera is going up, the finger is pressing down, and as the finger presses down, you have the button moving down as well, and you have the lens flare right here, the reflection on the lens, and you have the stars popping up like this. So let's talk about the position. Now you have something called the controller. This is basically a null object. We're going to talk about all of these in class. I only have 3-4 sessions left, so we're going to just talk about the project. We just go right click, new, so null object. So it's a null object. Basically, it doesn't have any physical appearance, but it does have transform. It does have a position, scale, and rotation. So this is just used to parent stuff to it. So you can just rename it and call it controller. If you want, you can call it whatever you want. You can call it hand. You can call it hand controller, camera controller, whatever. And you can see that hand 1, camera, and hand 2 are all parented to controller. So we can see it near the parent link. If you can't see it, this is probably off. Something is probably off here. So make sure to bring them on. So expand the layers that you want if you don't have the parent link. Or maybe you can just right click columns and make sure that the parent is on, parent and link. And you just select all of these, the hand 1, the hand 2, and the camera, and you just whiplash them. And you just put them on controller. In this case, we don't want the controller here. We only want this controller. And now I can move around the controller and everything moves with it, except the stars and the background. We don't want them to move with the camera. So as you can see here, you have a keyframe which is position 1 with the camera and the hand they're under the screen, and on the keyframe 2 they're above the screen. So you can just keyframe under the screen here and keyframe above the screen, and just make sure to ease them in and ease them out. So it's called easy ease. You can just press F9 to ease them in and ease them out, and you can work around the curve editor. So get something like this, create a nice animation and a good looking motion. So it starts off slow, it goes fast, and then it stops slowly. So this is easing in and easing out. Just make sure to work around with the curve editor, please. And this is basically for the movement. Now, the camera, you can just double click on the pre-composition. It opens up the camera. You can see that the lens flare is playing like this. So the lens flare is just basically something like that. So you have a lens, you have lens 2. That's because I duplicated lens, so I can just do that. So lens, Control D, I duplicate it, I place it above reflection. So now reflection is sandwiched between lens and lens 2, and I can just alpha matte the reflection to the lens 2. So alpha matte lens 2. That creates this effect. Okay, and then you can animate the reflection. So basically you just place a keyframe here, another keyframe there. So basically something like this. So you just zoom back in, scrub in on your editor here, and then just bring this down somewhere right here. Again, make this faster. Again, you can just go into the curve editor and play around with these effects to create any type of motion that you want. Now for the button, you need to make sure that when the finger presses the button, you need to bring down the button and bring up the button. Now let's talk about the finger a little bit. So this is where the position stops moving the camera, and then you wait a couple of frames, and then this is where the button presses down. Now, how do we do that? We do that by using something called the puppet pin tool. We're going to talk about it in class, the puppet pin tool, don't worry about it. But to the people who started early, and we haven't started puppet pin tool inside in our classes, you can just go to hand 1. So hand 1 is the hand that we want to puppet pin. And I can just select this tool up here. So it's called puppet pin tool. So the regular pin. And you can just add points. So you just click on where you want to add the point. Now in this case I've added 9 points. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So add them like me. So just click, you add points like this. Okay, now you have different points. So you can just open up this and you find it under effects, mesh 1, deform, and under deform you have all the puppet pins. So in this case it's going to be puppet pin 1. Probably it's a different pin number than mine in your project. It's probably puppet pin 2 or 3 or whatever. Just make sure that you're selecting the right one. Just click on it and see where it's highlighting. This is the puppet pin that you're going to be using. So the puppet pin enables us to deform our mesh. الشكل تبعنا it can deform it. You can move the pin like this. So by just dragging either this, so you can deform it, or like this, you can bring this up or down. So the first position is right here. So right after where the camera stops moving, you wait a couple of frames, and then this is the initial position that you have of the finger. Now, if you move down, if you move forward a little bit, you can see that the finger is moving down. That is because the puppet pin tool is being moved down on this scale right here. So get the timing correct, and then, so this is the initial position. This is the second position where the finger goes down. And the third position is when the finger goes back up to the original position. So it clicks, it's clicking. So all you need to do is just copy this one and paste it here. Right? So initial position, this is the modified position that you want. And just copy all of these and place them here. Okay, so now you have 2 clicks. So 1, 2, right? And you can just ease them. So F9, and make sure you work around with the graph editor a little bit. Okay, simple, create a good motion. Now this will basically work the button as well, because you're pressing down on the button. So you just position your playhead where your first frame is, and I'm going to close that off, we don't need it. Okay. You can just press U on the keyboard. Maybe we'll keep that up, it's fine. And we'll go to the camera. So this is the camera. Now we want to animate the button. So this is where your playhead was stopped right here. So we know that you need to place a position on the button right here, and then you step forward in time. So using this one, using this composition, you just go forward like this. So you know that this is where the button was pressed. You need to bring down the button. So you just bring down the button like this, basically, bring it down, and then basically that's the same thing here. You just move forward to this frame and copy this one, Ctrl C, and paste it here. So now you have the same thing as the finger, because when you press down with the finger, the button is gonna go down. So you press with the finger, so it's like initial position, modified position, initial position. So the button is going to be initial position, modified position, initial position, because it's going to go back up when the finger is released from the button. And you're going to have two, because you're going to have two clicks. So to see where the second click is, you can just move to this keyframe right here. You go back to the camera and you just Ctrl C this and Ctrl V it here. So you kind of copy the keyframe that you just created. So you don't have to recreate it. Now, that's basically it. Now, for the stars, you don't have to do it. You don't need to do it. It's fine. It's not tricky, but too much. We don't need to add so much elements to the project. Now, if you want to do it, try it, ask me about it, but I don't require you to do it, for sure. Now, the due date, we already discussed it. I'm going to just draft up a PDF file, and I'm going to send it to you guys so you can read it, and I'm going to link to this video. So any questions that you have, please ask me. I'm always available. Okay, peace.